Here, you can go right around, do a little bit. I'll go right behind you, if that's okay. Right here, okay. Right over here. Thank you.
I want to see you
There you go.
front center. Nice to see you.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today? So we're here today to provide an update on a case that goes back 61 years involving Catherine Blackburn. So I'm joined here by a number of people, including from the Albany Police Department, Commander Melissa Morey, Detective Lieutenant Daniel Johnson, Detective Adam Brace, also a number of people from the District Attorney's Office, the District Attorney Lee Kinlan, Joe Maney, and Adam Hornick. Also, Dr. Christina Lane from Sage College, the Criminal Investigation Resource Center, and then a number of family members from Miss Blackburn's family, Sandra Carmichael, Barbara Ulmer, Mary Ann Simard, and Carol Combs, who are all nieces of Catherine's. Just to give a little background on the case, on September 14th of 1964, Catherine Blackburn, who was 50 years of age, was murdered at her residence at 117 Colony Street here in Albany. That morning, a coworker of Catherine's attempted to pick her up to go to work. And upon arriving at her residence and not receiving any acknowledgement of her being home, she contacted Catherine's niece, Sandy, to try to figure out what was going on. Sandy and Catherine's sister responded to the address and came across a pretty gruesome scene and found Catherine murdered that morning. Ultimately, medical personnel and police personnel were summoned to the scene, and that started a 61-year process of trying to investigate a crime to determine motivation, a suspect, and ultimately bring justice for Catherine and for her family. Due to a large collaborative effort and really innovation and nonstop dedication of the people that are here today, as well as some partners that aren't here, including some partners with the FBI who could not travel today to be here with us, I'm proud to say that we have positively identified the perpetrator of this horrific offense. And I really want to thank the folks that are up here, especially Commander Morey, Detective Lieutenant Johnson, Detective Brace, and all of our partners for all the work that they've done. That perpetrator is now identified as Joseph Nowakowski, who was born on August 10th of 1931. He is deceased. He died in 1998. Again, I really want to thank my staff for their tireless work, as well as the partnership with the Crime Investigation Resource Center. They've done outstanding work since they started and really looking at cases. I know everybody goes by cold case, but I really want to say there's no such thing as a cold case. We continue to always look at our cases to see what we can do differently, what we can try. And the Crime Investigation Resource Center is a group of folks that have always looked to see what new technology is there. Obviously, 1964 compared to where we are 61 years later, there's all kinds of new innovative things we can do with DNA. The District Attorney's Office is obviously a great collaborator of ours and have done a lot of work with us. But really, mostly, I want to thank Catherine's family for their perseverance throughout this process and just recognize that traumatic cases, homicides, they take a toll on a family. And it's hard to express the gratitude and find words to them for taking the 61 years of this road with them that the police department, the district attorney's office has taken with them to try to bring justice. And I don't know if we ever really bring justice to a family, but the police department, the district attorney's office, we're always going to stand with the family. We're always going to try to seek justice and bring closure, no matter if that means ultimately putting somebody behind bars and having a successful case in court, or whether or not that means that we're going to find somebody after they're already deceased to ensure that we can identify and say, this is the person that committed this heinous crime, and we're going to be able to at least bring some kind of closure. So I really want to thank the family. I'm going to turn things over to Commander Maury, who's going to go a little bit more into detail on how we came to this conclusion and how we were able to successfully close this. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning. As Chief Cox said, my name is Melissa Maury. I'm a commander with the Albany Police Department, but in the fall of 2018, I was a detective assigned to our forensic investigation unit. It was at this time I had heard for the first time of the homicide, the unresolved homicide of Catherine Blackburn. Once I heard of the violent details and the heinous nature of the crime, I was truly shocked that I hadn't heard of this event prior. I was immediately curious to see what paperwork, what evidence we had, and what we could do with that evidence, if anything. While I was in the forensics unit, I pulled our case file, which I was very happy to see. We had the entire case file. Not only did we have the entire case file, we had all of the physical evidence that was originally collected in 1964, preserved and intact in our evidence storage. At that point in time, I was cataloging evidence, organizing our case file, uploading our evidence into our newer evidence management system. And as fate would have it, at the exact same time, the family of Catherine Blackburn had reached out to Dr. Lane after seeing a news story of Dr. Lane, the launch of her program. They reached out to Dr. Lane to see if there was anything she could do to help them find answers to this unresolved homicide. Dr. Lane and I had our first meeting together. Our partnership was born, and we went off from there. Throughout our partnership with Dr. Lane and the students, we were introduced to the FBI's ability to use forensic genealogy for their genealogical research. And due to the diligent efforts of our partners in the FBI New York office, we were able to identify our suspect as Joseph Nowakowski. After collecting numerous comparison swabs, we moved to petition for the exhumation of Joseph Nowakowski with our partners at the District Attorney's Office. We were able to do that. That process was successful. We obtained a DNA sample directly from our suspect, and we were able to compare that with positive results to the DNA that was collected from the crime scene in 1964. With that, I'm going to turn it over to District Attorney Lee Kinlan to speak about their role in our investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. When I became district attorney, I sat my people down and I said, let's do big things. I understand that there's the day-to-day stuff my office deals with, but this is a big thing, and I couldn't have been more honored to be a part of this investigation. When the Albany Police Department came to us and said, as Melissa just talked about, that they had a lead on a case, I said, whatever we can do to help. And Jessica Blaine Lewis, who is truly one of the all-stars in my office, she's my deputy chief assistant. She led up the investigation. She helped write the warrants. She went to court a couple of weeks ago and very quietly asked a judge to exhume the body. And then she was with us as we all stood around the gravesite at Albany Rural Cemetery a couple of weeks ago on a Monday morning as we exhumed the body. Obviously, it was a big Monday, and then a lot of credit goes to the state police for processing the DNA and getting us here. So, big things are about working together and finding a way to get answers for victims. And that's the other thing I want to talk about today is the victims out there need to know that it doesn't matter if it's a week, a month, or a series of decades. The Albany Police and the Albany County District Attorney's Office and all of our law enforcement partners are going to be there for you. We are going to be there to help you. So never be afraid to speak up, to call on those resources, to know that we are here all the time to help find justice for victims. And as we go forward, today is a model for what we might be able to do in the future to help victims to solve old cases and to get stuff done. And I just couldn't be more proud of my law enforcement partners and the men and women who helped us get here today. So thank you very much.
At this time, we're going to introduce the family of Catherine Blackburn. They just have a few things they would like to share. Thank you.
Good morning. 61 years ago, evil entered my aunt's house and changed our lives forever. We prayed for this day. Thanks to modern technology, persistence, determination, and a dedicated team, it has arrived. Thank you to all who made this possible. May God bless all of you, and may my aunt rest in peace.
Good morning. My name is Mary Ann Simard, and I want to say to you, do you believe in miracles? Prayers are so powerful. I stand before you to say that our family received a miracle. So, thank you all. After 61 years, we now know who murdered Catherine Blackburn. Our Aunt Kate loved her faith, family, and friends. She was a daughter, sister, aunt, friend, and neighbor. She was a supervisor at the Mohawk Brush Company on Fuller Road in Albany. She was well respected and loved by her coworkers. On behalf of Catherine Blackburn, we would like to thank Commander Melissa Morey, Christina Lane, and her interns, and most of all, the Albany Police Department for preserving all that they did for 61 years. Without your help, today would not be possible. So many worked diligently to solve the 61-year-old case. Catherine Blackburn, you are not forgotten.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Omer, and it has been a nightmare for years for the family based on that horrific event on September 12th, 13th of 1964. Today is bittersweet for all of Catherine Blackburn's relatives. Not only did her death haunt those of us who lived through it and knew my Aunt Kate, but it affected the generations long after, and we are relieved today. It's a miracle after 61 years to have some closure. Thank you to the Albany Police Department Homicide Unit, who took the time and effort in 1964 to collect all of the evidence that they did, which made today possible. Thank you, Detective Flint, even though you went to your grave knowing that you could not solve this case. Thank you, Commander Melissa Morey, and everyone in the Albany Police Department who assisted in working tirelessly and diligently to make this day possible. Thank you, Professor Christina Lane, Professor Chris Conkle, and all of the students who worked tirelessly for a number of years to assist in helping solve this case. And last but not least, thank you to the DNA testing labs and the participants for your role in making this day possible. Thank you all on behalf of Catherine Blackburn.
Good morning. I am Dr. Christina Lane, Director of the Criminal Investigation Resource Center at Russell Sage College. In 2018, Dr. Chris Kunkel and I implemented the idea of utilizing academics with expertise in the various disciplines of investigative science and college students as a tool to assess law enforcement agencies with unresolved cases. The Albany Police Department was one of our first partners, despite the massive leap of faith they would need to take by allowing civilians to have access to unsolved homicides. As the deputy chief then said, this makes complete sense. It's manpower that can be utilized that we do not have. A week after our first meeting with the Albany PD in 2018, I received a call from Sandy Carmichael, the niece of Catherine Blackburn, asking if we'd be interested in her aunt's case. Soon thereafter, we met with Ms. Carmichael, Commander Maury, now retired Lieutenant L. Martin, and the Albany Police Department to begin assisting with this case. At that moment, elements began to coalesce, bringing together law enforcement agencies, investigative experts, the media, and charitable cold case organizations to assist with advanced forensic testing, specifically through the Seasons of Justice. The resolution of the Catherine Blackburn case is an exceptional example of years of multidisciplinary teamwork, demonstrating that no victim is forgotten. We at the Criminal Investigation Research Center at Russell Sage College greatly appreciate being part of this. We are honored to have been able to contribute and would like to extend special thanks to Chief Cox and Commander Maury. This case is a testament to the Albany PD's professionalism, commitment to serving victims and their families, and determination as they utilize every available resource to close this case.
Sorry, Chief. I wrote my thank yous down. I apologize. I have a lot. As everybody has touched on up here, this was truly a team effort. And we were speaking right before the press conference that the collaboration on this was unprecedented, truly. To start, I would like to thank my family for all of their support and encouragement throughout the years. I would like to extend a sincere thank you to the FBI New York office Investigative Genetic Genealogy Program for all of their hard work, dedication, and determination, especially Special Agent Lori Giordano, who has become as passionate about this case as we are and who made this identification possible. I would also like to thank Special Agents Brandon Raz and Special Agent Paul Scuzzarella for their assistance in our cold case investigations. I would like to thank Dr. Christina Lane for her unwavering enthusiasm to her students and our partnership, as well as her unwavering passion of seeking justice for victims and their families. I would also like to thank our partners at the New York State Police Forensic Investigation Center Cold Case Team, Julie Pizzichetti, Richard Brunt, Michelle Mora, Martha Goss, Stacy Weir, Kurt Sickinger, Alicia Farkas, and Irfan Mukhtar, who has answered likely hundreds of questions for me over the years and who still takes my phone calls. I would like to thank all of the family members affected by this case. This has been a very difficult road at many difficult times for a number of different reasons. I thank you all for your patience and participation in this entire process. Lastly, I would like to thank Chief Cox for his support, along with the men and women of the Albany Police Department, starting with those officers, detectives, and supervisors who responded to and worked this case from 1964 and beyond. Without their professionalism and assiduity, we would not have been able to take advantage of the technological advances we presently have at our disposal. I would like to thank our Criminal Investigations Unit, especially Detective Lieutenant Josiah Jones and Detective Adam Brace, who's here today, for their assistance on this case, as well as the entire Forensic Investigation Unit, who is being represented here today by Detective Lieutenant Dan Johnson. I thank the Albany police officers of today for all of their hard work and dedication in not only assisting with this case, but for continually showing up day in and day out to serve the citizens of the city of Albany with professionalism and compassion. I'm truly humbled and honored to be a part of this organization. And with that, Chief Cox, thank you.
So with that, we will open things up for some questions.
Chief, first of all, congratulations. I'm wondering, because this suspect lived for another 34 years after the murder of Ms. Blackburn, if you have reason to believe he may have been connected with any other cases in the area.
It is very possible, and that is one of the reasons why we wanted to make sure that we took every step possible to be 100% positive that he was, in fact, tied to this and that we had his DNA on file so we could put it into the system so that anyone else in the area, or for that matter nationally, could compare their DNA of any kind of case that they had open to his DNA.
What information can you share about this particular suspect? What was he doing for those 34 years? Was he living amongst Capital Region residents?
Oh, I do, yes. Our suspect has relevant criminal history both before and after the homicide of Catherine Blackburn. He was arrested by the City of Schenectady Police Department in 1973 for a vicious assault of an elderly woman living alone in her apartment. So he's been in and out of prison multiple times, and he did some prison time for that. He was released in 1980, where he's essentially off the radar until his death in 1998.
Have you spoken, interviewed any of his relatives?
We reached out to his relatives as part of the investigation. Without their help and cooperation, we would not be here today. Using the investigative genealogy, we need family cooperation. I spoke to them, and as you can imagine, it's a very sensitive topic. They don't wish to be involved any further, and I'm going to respect that request and not discuss their information any further. Thank you.
Did Catherine know Joseph?
We have nothing indicating that they knew each other.
Was he a suspect at the time in the investigation?
He was not. No.
So did Joseph break into her home? Can you talk a little bit the circumstances surrounding how it happened?
So keep in mind, we're 61 years later. All the indications that day were that she did not know him and that they were strangers. But, we are 61 years later. So, there's a lot of pieces of things that we do not know.
I read some media reports where there were apparently a few other suspects that police were looking at, perhaps Lemuel Smith, perhaps a gentleman by the name of Broadhurst. At what point were you able to eliminate them as suspects?
So, what we know is that this investigation has taken 61 years. As any investigation that is this serious, there are a number of different investigative steps that we go through as detectives, as investigators, when we're looking at things. And when people come before us, we take the appropriate steps to look to see if that is the person that's involved. We look at what that person's travel is like, where that person's at, what that person's been doing. We look at scientific evidence, we look at physical evidence, and depending on that, it's either going to rule somebody in or rule somebody out. And at different times, some of those people were ruled out. I don't have the exact dates and exact times when some of those people were ruled out. Certainly, it's in some of the different files of when some of those people were. But based off of different physical evidence and different interviews, some of those folks that you named were ultimately ruled out through the investigation.
Can you identify the approximate date when Malkowski, is that how you pronounce it? When he was identified as the probable suspect and how long it took you to find out where he was?
The process of ultimately reaching his name as our suspect took a very long time. We're talking about a case that's 61 years old with records that are that old to match. So that process took years. It took us years to sift through. I say us, I mainly mean the FBI. They are great partners in this investigation. After we identified him as our suspect, we, within a week or two, contacted the family. We had a very quick turnaround with that. And I think we had the exhumation scheduled within the month. Very quickly. We had, obviously the date was coming up, the anniversary, the 61-year anniversary was coming up, and we were able to execute the exhumation during that week, the anniversary week.
Other questions?
Chief, have you guys done, or do you have like a list of standing cases that you'd like to start working on based on the success of this case?
So there is no case, there are no homicides that aren't, in my mind, active. So everything that we have, we do work on, and that is part of our partnership with Dr. Lynn.
And certain cases are stronger than others based on the file you have right now, correct? In other words, all homicides can be opened, but some have a larger case file than others to work with.
Well, it all depends on the evidence. It all depends on witnesses. It all depends on different factors. But there is no case that's not open and not active.
And should we assume that Dr. Lane and her colleagues are actively working on some cases in the area?
That's correct.
How do you spell his last name?
We'll get it for you.
Could you talk
Looking
about
for
the
that,
involvement of Dr. Lane and what it is that she and the students were able to do that was helpful in this?
Sure. Dr. Lane?
Our involvement was primarily the students helped with going through large amounts of information and allowed Commander Maury and I to do presentations at conferences to get funding. And also Dr. Kunkel and I, we engaged in what you would call behavior evidence analysis that makes you determine items that will be more successful in leading to testing and identify potential perpetrators. So there was a lot of psychology, criminology, and analysis in this case to understand the predator and determine next steps. The students are very valuable in organization and putting the case into a narrative to determine what next steps are to be done and also what you can deduct from it too.
Okay. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.